Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the Cambridge Los Angeles show in West Hollywood, and I'm here with co-writer and co-director Kieran and David with their movie Borderline. Let's take a look at a clip.
The border is 2,000 miles of mostly sand, sun, and burning horizon. And before you know it, you're alone. I'll take that feeling any day over realizing that you're not alone.
Guys, thank you so much for coming today and congratulations on Borderline. It was quite a fantastic treat, and I'm excited to share it with people. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
It's a story about a Border Patrol agent who comes across a pretty grisly scene in the desert, and then we proceed to find out how that happened.
It is pretty grisly. I wasn't quite expecting the journey you were taking me on, but I was pleasantly surprised from a filmmaking standpoint. How did you come about the story?
It was a newspaper article that sort of was the seed to the whole thing. It was just a story about there are these coyotes, and that's what they call the guys who help you cross over the border. So you pay them money and they cross you over, and they hide you in trucks and things like that. And so in this case, they were like more people than in our short film,
About
but
40.
it was like 40 or so people in this big sort of truck, all huddled in, and the guy thought that Border Patrol was on his tail, so he abandons the truck, leaving the people inside to basically cook to death inside this truck. And it was just sort of an image that stuck with us for a long time. We didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So eventually, what we decided is that we didn't want, like Kieran said last night, want to make a message movie, so we decided to turn it into sort of a supernatural horror movie, because with horror, even though it's a genre, it's one of those genres that you can really kind of you have a lot of space to work with story and message, and just not feel like you're getting hammered over the head with the impact of like what you're trying to say.
Yeah, no, most definitely. You had an incredible location to shoot this. It was just like it was like perfect. How did you come about finding that place?
I give credit to Dave on this one because he's was it Airbnb?
Well, it was
an Airbnb space like that. Like in a
it was
desert?
essentially it's a
Yeah.
VRBO, which is like
VRBO,
Airbnb. Not to give like a sort of a plug to any in particular, but
Pay
a
lots of
vacation
money
rental.
if you do.
We messaged the owner and said, hey, we want to shoot in your space, because he had a house that was like, I don't know, 10 rooms, big, beautiful house.
Yeah. And
it was like a little resort amongst 100 acres of just beautiful, right next to Joshua Tree.
Wow.
Desert.
So
perfect.
Yeah, no permits required. We just had a little playground of desert.
The house was base camp.
Yeah.
Basically everybody
Amazing.
just slept there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was
amazing.
like really inexpensive in terms of like location. You got really good bang for your buck, because you housed everybody there. All the meals were there, so it was almost like family time. It was like vacation.
And it had
That's how it should be.
It had kind of different looks when you go outside of that location. It has so many different looks that was very helpful also, because it gave you the impression that where Manny was, it was farther away from where the truck was.
What was nice is you kept us on suspense pretty much from the get-go. You weren't quite sure what was going on, what was happening. Did you kind of sort of have this kind of ambiguous kind of feel for your audience, like what's going on here, and spend almost the whole time working out what's going on right till the final moment.
Oh, thank you. That was our hope to sort of drag it out as much as possible.
We certainly did that. Now, what's it like working on a project where you're both co-writing and both co-directing? You're still friends, that's good.
So we've been co-writers for a long time. Yeah, co-writers for a long time. So we were, that part of it, we've worked out our system for that. Co-directing, we were a little nervous about it. Luckily, our DP, Phil Mayhew, he's just world class. Like, he's done Casino Royale and all these movies, and he just made it so easy. Like,
Yeah, because you didn't really have to worry about the technical side. You just needed to let him know what you needed.
What you need to do.
And he basically looked at his guys like, okay, I put, 5 minutes later, it was pretty much there.
It's amazing, isn't it amazing when you got a team that can just work so well? You got a great talented team as well. You can work so well like that. So that was good. So you survived it, and you still felt like it's something maybe you can do again together.
oh yeah, and he was like a mentor, he taught us so much during the day and gave us so much confidence because you just felt like it was covered, you know, all the cinematography stuff was covered.
Yeah. It was so beautifully shot as well, so you know.
I mean, he did it with few resources.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he's an older gentleman, older British guy, and he's just there holding the camera himself. We were so impressed.
And also, despite the fact that he's like Dave said, an older gentleman, he's not necessarily speed-wise the fastest guy, but because he's got so much knowledge, he's the fastest DP I've personally ever worked with.
Wow.
I mean, it's insane. It's so fast, and his team, clockwork. Yeah.
Yes, we grew old gracefully as British gentlemen. It's a lie. No, I mean, what was also great, it must be fun to bring a cast and a crew out to this amazing location. You had like trucks and you had those amazing buggies. I mean, that looked pretty cool.
We had one buggy, one ATV.
Well, what an illusion. My goodness, who knew?
But it worked because we figured that since it's a border patrol vehicle,
uniform.
they're all going to be the same.
Yeah.
So it just kind of, all right, just switch the location.
That was a clever move. That was good.
Yeah.
And that was a local hire too. That was like,
it was some
everybody's off road over there. Anyways.
Yeah, some guy nearby. Like I just went online and found if I could rent out one, and they just brought it to the location.
Oh,
We had
nice.
it for a couple days, and
It's
and
all
then you
part
mentioned
of
it was cool also bringing all the cast and crew out there because. Some of the cast members in particular were friends of ours. Dan, who played Brock, the bald gentleman, he lives at the time he lived in Florida, and he went to film school with he was at the university with us, and he was an actor in the theater department, and he worked on many, many films. So we've known the guy forever.
It's always good you can bring in amongst friends as well, isn't it? Most definitely. Because there's that kind of trust element factor, obviously, you guys have got together, you work together as well. What would you say was your biggest challenge?
The truck
The truck.
kept getting stuck in the desert.
Yeah, it was.
Son of a bitch.
It was not a 4-wheel drive, and there was some very soft sand in certain areas. We had to get a tow truck out one day, which, by the way, Phil saved us on that day also because he figured out the truck couldn't move, and he made it work so we could keep filming with the truck where it was, and as a result, we even incorporated a little bit into the film where the guy says it got stuck. Another thing I'd say is when we first got there, the weather.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was. They're supposed to be.
It didn't look cold at all. It's funny, isn't it?
Dying of heat, but the first day we got there was raining and hail hit, so we had to rearrange the whole schedule, hoping that it would stop. And sort of the one time in the year that they got any kind of rain, and it was the one weekend that we went there. So. But it all worked out. So.
It did work out. I was gonna say how hot it looked. I was like, my goodness, he certainly brought that illusion for us as well. So what's it like having your film out there and being selected for NewFilmmakers LA and out there for an audience to see? What is that feeling like?
It's been great because overall the reception has been exactly what we'd hoped. More so, really, just because everybody gets it, and we weren't sure. We wrote the screenplay, and as a feature. And we're having kind of like issues with people understanding, like they weren't getting like the tone, what we were trying to get after. You know, you're talking about sort of, they're like, well, is it a thriller or is it supernatural? And we're like, well, it's kind of both, you know. And it's really hard to explain to studios what that is. So, the advice we were given from very smart people was to make the short, just do something so that you can sort of show people what it is that you're trying to get across. And that's what it was for a while. And then we started sending out to film festivals, and enjoying the experience. It's been great so far.
So there is going to be a feature.
That's the hope. We
That's
have the feature.
We're working on it. Yeah.
Feature came first before the short.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you just got
But
an
then we
extended trailer there, haven't you?
Yeah,
So,
and then we rewrote the feature, based on many things, including some aspects of the short. So
Because we learned as we were doing it.
That's a good decision as a filmmaker, is just, to kind of, obviously it's going to be a feature, it will be, and there'll be distribution and everything, and it's all going to happen. But I'm saying, it's great that you can take your short film, get an idea of what the audience is, learn what worked well and what didn't well, and then, it feels well prepared for your feature. But the good news is you already got, you already been selected for film festivals, so then that's a good sign of the great work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
So is that your next project you're both working on?
Yes, that's one of them.
That's
for sure.
one of them. Yeah, we have a few other things, but in terms of actual feature that we would be doing ourselves, that is it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing Borderline. It was a real treat, and you got a great cast and crew. Obviously, it works well together, and we are excited to see the feature. Thank you very much. I appreciate you both. Thank you
so much.